Yeah.
A lot of you people don't know these guys because you never saw them at the racetrack. You saw them at the garages and stuff. But these are my heroes growing up, and these are the reason I do what I do. And I believe me, I've ripped off their work a lot over the last couple of years. But exactly. So I would like to introduce to you my heroes and the men that made these cars look good and made the sponsors look good and paid the bills for these people. So I'm starting from that side. Bill Jive Jarvis, Tom Evans. I'm going to call him Stitz because every time I mess up his last name. And this is Joel/Peter Pan Peters. And these are the legends of stock car racing in the Chicago area and other areas. So, I mean, they've leathered all the way cars from street stocks at Santa Fe to NASCARs and ARCA cars that run at Daytona. I'm not very good at this interview thing, so I'm just going to kind of put the question out there. If there's any interesting stories you guys want to tell or feuds you've had over the years over cars. And you're all involved in another charity called the Brushmasters, which is very dear to our heart and their heart. And anything you guys want to talk about, stories you want to tell, just have at it. Jive?
Yeah, these guys you see to my right here are the reason I got into this business. These guys are all my heroes, every one of them. You know, I've watched these guys work from the first time I got into it. I got into it kind of late, but Joel Peters, unbelievable stuff that he's ever done, and I imitated a lot of it. Kenny Stitz, what can I say about him? The guy is just a fantastic artist. Tommy Evans here, some of the best airbrush work I've ever seen in my life comes from this guy. But they're my inspiration. Like I say, I got into it after these guys started. But they're the reason I do it. If you ever seen Shake, Rattle, and Run, it's Kenny Stitz right here. That's some of the best gold leaf and silver leaf you've ever seen in your life. Tom Evans here, I've seen some of the semis he's done with these, I guess, Frazetta-type murals and stuff like that. It's just unbelievable. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let these guys take it from here. Thank you.
Well, I think one of the important things to bring up is the fact that the difference between when we started doing it and what it is today, you know, as far as the time we spent in the garages and the shops, you know, when you lettered a car, hand lettered a car back in the 60s or 70s, you got to be kind of an intimate experience, actually. You're going to be there for 8, 10, 12 hours, you know, sitting on a milk crate or, you know, and sometimes it, you know, it really went off into the night. And, you know, a lot of great stories, a lot of great things happen. Some of those things we can talk about, some of them we can't. But you know, there are some adventurers. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff. I was in a garage one time on the north side, lettering a drag car. At 2 o'clock in the morning, a couple of the guys were kind of dozing off, falling asleep while I was lettering, and the Chicago police, come running in the garage because they had they weren't correct, but they had somebody's name that they were looking for, and somebody said he was going to be in that garage, but it was a scare for me because they come in and a couple of them had their guns out. Well, yeah, I don't know. I said no. I just, but what do you call it? It was pretty crazy. They rousted everybody out. We had to leave the garage, and they were looking for this guy. You know, and they didn't find him. He wasn't there. But it was just some crazy experience that happened in the city back in the day. You know, so yeah, no, it was a lot of crazy stories, a lot of crazy people involved, and it was a lot of fun. It was an era that you don't see anymore. That's for sure. And I'm sure all you guys have stories as well. It was a different time. You know, and that's kind of helped make it what it was too, you know. So, how about you, Joel? You must have been in some truck garages and some stock car garages.
Oh, absolutely. You know, how many are cold, unheated, poorly lit, and you're standing in water garages where they're all over the north side, south side. I remember lettering a truck in Calumet City, and the guy calls up and, hey, I got a truck to letter. Okay, he says, you got some heat? It's the wintertime. You got some light? Yeah. Okay, and I get there, and I'm standing literally in a pool of water with one bulb and no heat. One time I went and lettered a garbage truck in South Chicago on Thornton Road there, and a brand new building, 9 bays. They had a little, they weren't finished with the building, they had a little turbo heater at one corner, 9 bays away where the truck was. It never got warmer than 30 degrees in there. So I parked my car next to the garbage truck, and I would letter for 30 minutes, sit and warm myself up. Letter for 30 minutes, and but you wanted to make the money, you wanted to, satisfy the customer, so you did that kind of stuff.
Yeah, once you're there, you're there. You want to go back home with some cash. You
Hell
can't say to come back
yeah.
tomorrow. I had one too, doing a stock car number on a roof of a stock car, and so we didn't have all the lights on in the garage at the time, and so I did the rest of the car. So now I'm going to go up on the roof and get that going, and it's nighttime, and I start painting, and then somebody came in and flipped on the switch for the one light bulb in the garage right above the number, and it was like mosquitoes. Every mosquito in Chicago showed up. Yeah, to be on that number, and it was just a lot of crazy stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of the guys, today everybody has really nice shops too. Most of the race car guys really have well appointed places to work in. But back in the old days, people were doing this stuff behind their homes, and put you into some awkward situations, no doubt about it. Tom, say something.
Tom, tell us about those murals you do on the side of semis and stuff. Where did you get the inspiration for that?
The things we do for money.
On a Harley Davidson, he did the fairing on it. He put this beautiful eagle and an American flag on this fairing on this bike, and it was a pearl white bike, and the mural it was stunning. I saw the picture. A friend of mine had the bike. Skip from Lockport. He had the bike. Now, you talk
John
about,
Wayne.
huh?
That was John Wayne on that one.
Oh, it's John Wayne. I'm sorry. John Wayne in a flag?
American flag.
An American flag. Okay. But anyhow, Skip, I seen Skip a few months later, and I said, "How's your bike?" He said, "Well, I was riding through this little town, and it was a sunny day, and a tree fell on me." The tree fell on the guy. You talk about luck. Anyhow, the tree fell on the bike. This guy spent days in a hospital. The bike was trashed, but he saved the fairing. I guess he's still got it around his house, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a clock in it now.
But anyhow, so sometimes this beautiful artwork gets destroyed by the biggest freak of nature. And Tom isn't much for talking, but I can tell you right now, I'm speaking for this guy, and he does some of the most fabulous work I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm among the best here. I didn't do a lot of stock cars, drag cars, signs, midgets, but not many stock cars.
Yeah, you did some of the tightest work out there, though. Your stuff was always really tight, really, really detailed, and really great stuff. No two ways about it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're. I worked for you for a while too. And
yeah.
I had to step up my game a little bit. I mean, But I had another story too here. It was the night I was at Wally's Easy Go on Western Avenue. On Western Avenue in Blue Island, lettering Ray Young's car, and I had just about finished up. It's about 2:30 in the morning, and I'm just lettered the just passing through on the back of the deck lid of the car. And who stops in is Jerry Kemperman and Paul Bauer. And they were out for the night, so they saw the lights on in Wally's, so they stopped in, and they came in while I was finishing letter on the car. And they get to talking between one another, and they're kind of arguing about something, not paying attention to the wet lettering on the car. And then I notice on the back of Paul Bauer walks away from the car, and I notice on the back of his pants the just passing through in reverse, which just told me he leaned into the back of the trunk lid with the wet paint, and now he just has just passing through on the back of his pants. anyway, I got to redo that now, of course, and so I got into it with them because, they, like I said, they were out for the night, so they, I'm harping about the lettering and everything. It turned into a kind of a brouhaha. They finally wandered out. I don't know where they went, but that's just another passing story. It's one of those adventures, another one of those kind of nights, so. Yeah, it was always something when you're going to go out like that and spend that many hours someplace, So.
I would just, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the name of a guy that inspired a couple of us. His name was Art Dexter. We took a lot from that guy. Okay, he may be a different type of guy and not very sociable sometimes, but he inspired us, definitely.
Yeah, he was somebody that he was one of my heroes. Danny Collier was another one too, But yeah, Art was a guy that really did lively kind of like bouncy lettering, a lot of cartoons and stuff like that, and was definitely inspiring, without a doubt. Yeah, he was he could be a thrill to be around sometime. Not always, not always something you want to talk about, but yeah, he was a great sign painter, and he did a lot of work. Real fast sign painter too.
Yeah.
He really did a lot of work in the course of a day. But yeah, no, there was a lot of great times with all that.
Joe Mahalik, too.
Yeah, Joe is another guy. Joe was a great pinstriper. He had his own style of striping. Didn't he have the wheat stalk, the wheat stalk style thing going on there for a while? That was all the rage for a while. But yeah, Joe was another one, and there was a couple of other guys who are no longer with us.
DJ.
James, Donald James.
DJ, yeah.
Yeah, lettered lots of drag cars, all of Mr. Norm's, Grant Spalding stuff, and he did a bunch of stuff. And it was also the Jag painter, Glenn Hansel, was another guy. Did a lot of drag car work back in the day. Yeah, and like I say, Danny Collier. Danny's not here today.
I wish he was here.
Yeah, no, Danny's got some great stories, I'm sure. But yeah, no, it was always an adventure. You never knew what was going to happen when you pulled up to the garage or the shop. So, but yep.
I'm so honored to have worked with you guys. Thank you.
Same here, though. I mean, everybody, every time you went to the racetrack, you saw there was something new lettered. You went over, looked at it, and see who was who's doing what. Who's up on their game. So it was another, it was another world, another environment.
Well, I want to just say first, I know I say this a lot, but now that we're on video, I want to really say it. Hopefully it'll last a long time, is what an honor and a privilege it is to be sitting here with these three guys. 'Cause I've known them all off and on for 40 years. When I first started trying to be a lettering and striping guy in 1971, the only thing I had to go by before they had magazines and the internet was the guys that you saw at US 30, at Raceway or Santa Fe, the cars that were lettered there. Or if you got lucky, maybe you saw commercial vehicles they did. And I always wanted to be like two people back then, and that's Kenny Stitz and Joe Mahalik and Jive. I met Tom much later than that, but I wanted to be like them, and I had more vim and vigor to do it than I had common sense. And I met Jimmy when he was 11 years old. But anyway, but I wanted to be like them, and I wanted to do the quality of work and the style that they had. And I go to Raceway, and I would see all these just beautiful cars that Ken lettered, and then I go to Santa Fe, and all the cars that Jive lettered. And there were other, guys that were in the business doing it then, but they were the hallmark. They were, to me, the top echelon guys. I met Jive in 1974 at the World of Wheels car show, and I was striping the door jambs on this real wild custom van. And he walked out and extended his hand and introduced himself. Hey, I'm Jive. And he told me about the 00 green ferruled Mac brushes. He says, because I was using a square-handled Grumbacher, yeah. And I was using the wrong brush, and he told me about it, so the following week I went and got one, because he says, it'll change your life. And I says, okay, so I went and got one, and you know what? It changed my life. I didn't see Jive again for 18 years until the late 90s, and I seen him, and the first thing out of his mouth was, hey, did you try the new Blue Ferrell Mac 10s? And he says, it'll change your life. And sure enough, it was an even better brush than the other one. So that's one of my fondest memories of Will here. And then Kenny here has always been a super nice guy. And I'd see him at car shows mostly. And so all those cars, the amount of history right here and the custom lettering and striping, it is unfathomable, you know, here in Chicagoland. And there's a lot of other unsung heroes that, you know, have come and gone. But, well, you talk about sign painting. Not only that, it was a racer, but Ray Schilstel over here. Super sign painter, self-employed for a long time. Then he worked for Van Brogen Signs, one of the top sign shops in Chicagoland. So, you know, it's you know, it's just, I never was a raceway guy per se, although I was a fan. I lettered 2 cars there, you know, back at the Packers in the 6-cylinder and late model division that probably only lasted a season. But I gained, you know, some notoriety at Santa Fe. I lettered a lot of cars there between 79 and 84. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. And, you know, I got something to look back on that. And I'm very lucky man.
Yeah, it was kind of a different time, too, as far as the amount of, you know, people have to realize that, you know, back in the 60s and 70s and into the 80s, we had, you know, 4 drag strips in the Chicagoland area. We had 4 or 5 stock car tracks, dirt and pavement, and you can extend that out if you want to bring in Waukegan and some other places that were tracks as well around. There was just a lot of racing, period. I mean, and you really had a half a dozen guys in the Chicagoland area that made a living. You know, I mean, sure, so you did trucks and signs too, but for the most part, most of your world was centered around lettering race cars and the car haulers and trailers, and a lot of the guys had tow trucks, and you know, there was just that much racing, and that spurned why we're here today. Really, you know, that's what brings us all together is the sport, and it was just that much work. I mean, it was just that much work around, plus the touch-ups and. You know, a lot of the guys had sometimes 2-3 cars in the course of a year. You know, towards the end of the year, guys start putting a car together for the Bentonhausen race and stuff like that. And, you know, they're going to go to Florida or something or whatever, you know. You know, a lot of guys had 2-3 cars in the shop, you know. So there was a lot of work to be done. It was really quite something at the time, you know, an era that's definitely missed, that's for sure. And that's what we're trying to capture here today, actually. So is that period. So.
You know, not only in this business, race car lettering, but any business that you go into, and this is for the young guys, you want to get better at something, talk to the guy that's better than you. And you try to measure up to what he's done, because that's what we've all done. We've tried to measure up to somebody that was better than us. And that was it.
Yeah, it's that inspiration. You know, like I say, you go to the racetrack and see what's going on and see who's doing what, and, you know.
Try and outdo them.
Yeah, try and outdo them. Just make sure you're not missing the boat here on something, you know. And there were certain fads. There were certain things Art Dexter did that I, you know, when I was younger, I latched onto, whether it was the stars or the asterisks.
The drop shadows.
The drop yeah, Joe Mahalik and the drop shadows. And,
Oh, yeah, he invented that, remember?
Yeah, there was all kinds of crazy controversies about stuff like that, yeah. So, yeah, but that was all part of the whole circus, you know. You know, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, if I can expand on that, when I was coming up, and I had to be Kenny, I had to be Joe, and I had to be Jive here, and I would letter stock cars and tow trucks, not for the money, not to impress the customer, but hoping or maybe that these guys might see it in the pits or on a trailer somewhere or hauling some car to the junkyard, and I could impress them. I mean, that's the honest-to-God truth. I did it, you know, to try to be somebody. And, you know, for most part, I don't think I achieved that, but at the same time, you know, just being able to sit here with these guys was a lot of fun. Now, Tom here, I didn't meet Tom until about 1975, and he was working for a sign shop in Mokina called Letterman Signage. And I went in there for a job, and Larry Hansen that owned the business, I went in there with my picture book and tried to talk to him about getting a job there. They didn't need anybody, but I remember Tom. Tom was such a tall. He was lettering a 4x8 sign. May have been even bigger than that. And I remember he had very dark hair, dark brown hair, and a dark brown mustache. And he's pretty much like he was pretty much like he is today, very quiet. That's my first recollection of Tom here. But again, to parrot what these guys just said, awesome custom letterer and custom murals and artwork, just a phenomenal go-to guy. There weren't a lot of custom guys, that could do the kind of work he did, but we're real lucky to be able to enjoy his work all these years.
Thank you.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Yeah.
I'm at a loss for words.
That's a shock. Okay, well, hey, thank you very much. Here you go there, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jim.
Just on my note, all these guys here, they're not that much older than I am, so don't get that, but I remember walking to school and passing shops where he was working and looking in the window to see what he was doing in there lettering race cars. Stitz, if you lived on the south side of Chicago, you didn't go a block without seeing a truck, or Hollingshead Oldsmobile was my first experience with you, with the most beautiful trucks in the world you ever want to see. Mr. Evans, I don't know that much of your work. I've seen your work. I don't know you that well, but it's inspiring also. Jive, what's to say, He's crazy, but he's all right. And if there's anybody out there that's coming up in this business, whether they're vinyl or hand or whatever, look to these guys for their inspiration and work, because these are the guys that built this business, especially when you were in Chicago. And I think growing up in this town, that some of the best sign work in this country has been done in Chicago by the guys like this, and Uncle Ray here, and Bob Bohanik, and so many other people. I mean, Chicago is a who's who in the sign industry, if you ask me. And
Uncle Ray.
yay, Uncle Ray. But that's enough about me, and these guys have been such an inspiration to me, and one day I hope to live up to their expectations. So
Thank you.
Thanks
you
for
guys
doing this
very
show,
much.
Jimmy.
And
Thank you very
guys
much.
for your support, too. You guys have always been behind me, even though I'm a vinyl guy. So, okay, guys, thank you very much. And
Let me tell you, he just called himself a vinyl guy. He grew up in an era where vinyl and digital wraps, the whole digital takeover of the industry. He's not a brush guy, but at the same time, I got to tell you something, and I want to get this on some film here. He's probably one of the best and greatest sign designers and lettering designers and logo designers around. You talk about someone that, colors and layout. These decals that he puts out for all these Raceway Park stars, they're phenomenal, I can tell you. Well, you had something to go by, but, to do that kind of stuff on a computer as a designer and how he puts things together and all this custom stuff he does, this guy's right in here with us as far as a legend here in Chicago in my mind. There you go, buddy.
well, thank you guys very much again. I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. And next year, just for the video, we're moving it back to March, and there'll be a lot more people here and a lot more fun. And God willing, a lot more racers to talk to, because to me, that's what this show is about, is memories of these guys and drivers and the fans. And some of our biggest fans are right out here in the front of here. So thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy.